Hey, everybody. This is Matt Ackley, Chief Marketing Officer of Ritchie Bros, and this is the latest edition of our Inside Edge podcast. We hope everyone is staying safe as we exit the summer season and head into fall. And obviously, we'd all, as we've talked about before, we'd all love to be getting together and meeting up at auctions, but since we can't do that these days, we want to continue to have these conversations with you over podcasts and over the interwebs. So today we've got a really, really interesting subject. I'm joined by Sam Weber, who's a territory manager in Winnipeg and Eastern Manitoba, and Wayne Jackson, who's a director in our business operations practice. And we are going to talk about a really interesting project, a really interesting construction project, as well as how these folks used a number of the Ritchie Brothers assets to help them dispose of that equipment. And we're talking about channels such as Marketplace E, and we're talking about some of our newer technology platforms like Ritchie Brothers Asset Solutions and our Ritchie Brothers Asset Valuation Tools. So really, really interesting subject here. So Sam, Wayne, do you guys want to give us a little background on the project, where it is? I'm an American. I know it's pretty far north up there on the map. I'm married to a Swedish person, so I've actually been above the Arctic Circle. But kind of tell us, how remote this place is and what was going on there.
Sure. Thanks, Matt. The project is fairly remote. It's located about 12 and a half hours north of Winnipeg. The project itself is based on a river system that funnels in from the ocean. So there are other projects up in the area or similar dams up in the area. But again, you have to go remote for some of these large river spillways. And the climate up there is pretty cold all year round. Again, very remote. It is accessible by road, and there is an airport reasonably close to there, but again, fairly far north in Canada.
So, when you're thinking of projects this size and the amount of equipment involved, and there's a ton of equipment involved, and this thing starts to wind down, and you start to think about disposing of this equipment, your options are a little more limited, I would imagine.
Yeah, it was definitely a major challenge. They took the project in a couple stages, and in this second stage, they started a progressive demobilization project, and that really was presented to Wayne and I in a fashion that, hey, we have 2,800 assets up here. What can we do it? How can we do it, and what is it going to look like? And from there, it just kind of progressed, and we kind of moved in a couple different directions, and to date, it's been very successful.
And so, what made them, as you started talking to them about the disposition process, what was it about, Marketplace E, and some of our other platforms? Obviously, when you're listing stuff on Marketplace E, you've got, I would imagine, the inspections and ironclad played a big role because this stuff is so remote and it's hard to go see it, right? So what about, what were some of the things there that they were looking for that, we were able to bring to the table to really help them out in this situation?
Hey, Matt, it's Wayne here. Thanks for having me on. Appreciate that. I think as we talk this through, it's really important to visualize what we're dealing with here. So Sam's done a great job of kind of framing up how remote this project was, but also the scope of it and the number of different assets, the variety of different assets. Like, these guys were doing something really big here. They're building a dam, they're diverting a river. This was a massive infrastructure project. And as part of that, they've got absolutely everything ranging from, pens, desks, pickup trucks, welders, undercarriages, all the way up through to the heavy equipment, large cranes, large excavators, 773G rock trucks, like you name it. A project like this really incorporates a number of different equipment categories. So, as you're talking to them, you start to realize that a one-size-fits-all approach, unreserved auction, bringing it to a site, isn't going to work for a project such as this one. So, I think perhaps Ritchie Brothers historically would have struggled to help out a customer such as this. But now, with the some of the tools you just kind of highlighted there, Matt, we were really able to leverage those and start talking the language that they needed to hear. So, you don't necessarily want to move all of that equipment. Perfect. Okay, we have a solution for that. We have Marketplace E. You perhaps want some insight into what those machines are worth. They're relatively new, but with relatively high hours. So harder to find history on that, because these guys are working fast and efficient. So our Ritchie Brothers Asset Valuator tool, great information there for these folks to try and figure out what their stuff's worth and when they should be selling it. And then again, kind of as you start to look at how do they want to get that stuff listed and for sale, the Ritchie Bros Asset Solutions tool, again, they can start to self-list some of these assets. You're not necessarily having to fly inspectors in and out every day, particularly under COVID, which everyone's facing now, where it's a challenge logistically. So that I think really struck a chord with them, and that's what got the conversation started, Matt.
I think that's one of the more interesting things, particularly that last piece. I know BBE and these folks were one of the first folks to actually start to list on their own into our platform. So that was a really, really, really interesting development. I'd love to see that they've used some of the new features of the Ritchie Brothers Asset Solutions platform. And then, a lot of the big components, one of the more interesting components to, Wayne and Sam to Marketplace E, once again, Wayne, you talked about, the history of Ritchie Brothers is they're able to actually, they're able to actually be in control of the pricing, right? So it's not an unreserved auction, and we offer a number of formats. And, I assume that was also something that was really interested them.
Absolutely. They love the range and the ability to continually market the assets. And so the Marketplace E aspect really appealed to them in a sense that they could absolutely advertise everything that they had, show off their extensive maintenance records, and kind of take it to the world without having to, incur any costs or logistics involved in it. And they're very proud of their equipment up there and the program that they've established. And Wayne and I tried to highlight on their program and make the equipment and their program the star of it. And I think it's translated into some good listings and some very good equipment information. And I think they're starting to see the results, even on the self-list through the Ritchie Brothers Asset Solutions.
Yeah, I just think one of the fascinating things that I've witnessed, throughout this project and the way, we've worked with them is the ability, because of the location, because of the nature of the project, to actually bring a lot of these solutions to them, and allow, give them a measure of control throughout the process, whether that's determining price, listing on their own, doing their own inspections, and working, to their schedule, right? As this is something they don't have to, they don't have to get everything ready by a certain date or whatnot. They're able to dispose, when and how and where they see fit. And I think it's a perfect example of a lot of the things we've been working on over the last, couple of years, since the integration of the two companies.
Yeah, I think the other key part to that is the transparency piece up there. This is a project kind of with standards second to none, not only in terms of kind of maintenance and work orders, but just in the way in which they kind of involve the community. So, the partnership between the main construction and engineering partners, working with the Cree First Nation up there, and under the guidance of Manitoba Hydro, this is something, in the public eye. It's got to be transparent. So I think, again, the channels that we were able to offer gave them exactly that, control over price in some circumstances where you have an expectation you can't risk unreserved, versus potentially a reserve auction in other circumstances where you do need a number above a certain point, but you also need that kind of transparency beyond just a brokered sale. So again, it was just one of those really nice projects to work with a really big, reputable partner with fantastic gear, and be able to bring together all the various different things that we can offer, and showcase that. It was really exciting to be part of. It is part of it because it's ongoing.
Great. No, that's awesome to hear, and I think a lot of people in the company were excited to be part of that project. It's interesting, Wayne and Sam, as you guys talk about, and here I'm bringing up RB Asset Valuator, as we talk about the type of equipment up there, and how we were selling it via Marketplace E, using reserves, how they were thinking about pricing it. So, why don't you guys give me an example of something they were selling up there, and let's kind of look at it in RB Asset Valuator and see how they were using that information to price that. What's a good piece of machinery they were selling?
Sure, Matt. A Cat 988K wheel loader. This is a perfect example of what we were talking about on site with the client, just to get a gauge of where and what the pricing was looking like on their assets, specifically with the hours that they were at on project. And when we actually showed them how to use the tool, it was very, very, very well received.
Yeah, so it's interesting, right? So one of the interesting things about the tool, and I know a lot of people out there use the search results on our website, but this tool has all the same information. And, quite frankly, it actually brings all the results together. So in this case, when I did the search on the 988K, you can see, we've got a lot of Marketplace E listings, as well as, some of the live. We got one item there from one of our live auction sales. If I go in and I play with the date range and let's see what else this brings up. If we bring up any more items in that particular case, you can see we switched it out to 2015, brings in another item from one of our live sales. So they were, I guess, very easy to go in, use the tool, see what prices were, and as they were thinking about selling those items, they had the capability of hey, how do I want to think about pricing those?
And Matt, this is a key part to that Marketplace E process. Like if you're starting to think about unreserved auction, it goes up on the block and it sells to the highest bidder. But with Marketplace E, where you have control over price, I mean, you need to get that number right. You don't want to be leaving money on the table, and you definitely don't want to be kind of pricing yourself out of the market. So, for folks such as BBE, they've got a book value, but we're really the expert on where the market kind of sits today. So this is a perfect opportunity to jump in here, see what similar units have been selling for, and then set your price accordingly. So you're not waiting around for months for a bid that isn't going to come in.
Yeah, no, that's good to see. So it's very interesting to see how these different platform tools starts to play together with our channels. So anyway, hey, Sam, Wayne, thanks for hopping on today. I know you guys are busy. Everybody out there, thanks for joining us once again. Hope you enjoyed this. Stay tuned for more episodes of Inside Edge. And, as always, to find out more about these projects and products, feel free to visit us at rbasset.solutions.com. And I think it's just, once again, I'll just end with the fact, we continue to look for and develop new ways to work with, you guys out there to help your disposition needs in any type of situation. So once again, thanks everybody, and stay safe out there.